welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and well, this is a very significant week. Holy Week, Passion Week, just an amazing time in the life of the believer, and I'm always honored. This is also the week that Passover is celebrated. And I can't say enough about a person that I've had a very warm and respectful relationship over these years, and that's Rabbi David Zaslow. He is the spiritual leader there at the Havurah Synagogue in Ashland, Oregon, just down the road from us here. And he does have a website, rabbidavidzaslow.com. There's the picture of the landing page of his website, and you can go there and check that out. That's rabbidavidzaslow.com. David, good to see you, buddy. How are you, friend?
Perry, God bless you. Thank you. I'm doing well, really, really well. I'm retiring this July from congregational work, but I've got a lot of writing and study to do, so I'm very excited about the new phase in my life. I hope you're well, too.
You're not allowed to retire. That's against the law.
I heard a good word. Instead of retiring, I'm rewiring. So I'm going to rewire this July. So.
Well, good to see you, friend. As always, an honor to have you. All right, this is a significant week in the Jewish faith. What is the significance of Passover?
Well, Passover, of course, is this master story within Judaism that, of course, inspired and it was so much part of the Holy Week story, you know, from the Passion to the Resurrection and the Pentecost in Christianity. It's all rooted in the Jewish scriptures. And so, it's a story. We were slaves in Egypt, and God liberated us and freed us with the help of Moses and his sister Miriam and his brother Aaron. And we went into the wilderness, but we were free. And 50 days later, what we call our Pentecost, it's called Shavuot, we were at Mount Sinai and received the Torah and God's commandments. So it's a very, very special week because it was celebrating freedom, liberation from despots.
Mm. Now, the Seder is a very big part of this. How does that play in?
Well, Judaism it's all about God and food. I'm just sort of kidding, but food really brings people together. So when we have a family Seder meal and we talk about what God did for us, we use all the different elements on the Seder plate to talk about, for example, the matzah. The flatbread represents humility because it has no yeast in it. And then we have maror, which are the bitter herbs. And we feel the bitterness of our own ancestors and bitterness in our own lives and the need to be free from that. And finally, the Paschal lamb, represented by the shank bone on the Seder plate, which is, in fact, that's where the word Passover comes from. In Hebrew, it's Pesach. In the Eastern Church, it's called Pascha, which means the Paschal lamb. And of course, that's Jesus in Christianity, and in Judaism, it's sacrifices that are made all around us.
Wow. Are you surprised, David, with your many years of service there at the synagogue and knowing you all these years, are you surprised how significant the Jewish community has become to the world?
Yes and no. If there's some strange reason, God only knows, literally, it's how odd it is that God chose the Jews. We seem to be the canary, in the cave to see how safe the world is. Because if it's safe for us, it's going to be safe for other people as well. So Israel has always been at the center of our hopes to really return to the Promised Land. But also the Jewish people represent how we're treated in various places. We were not treated well most of the time in Europe. We have been treated well most of the time in the United States. And so there's this significant use of the Jew. We're 16 million people, Perry, as you know. There's over 2 billion Christians and 16 million Jews. And there's a lot that comes from the Jewish people, from God.
What do you think of the relationship between Israel and America today?
Well, it's strained in the sense that the extremists on really both ends of the spectrum, the white supremacists on one side, far leftists on the other hand, share anti-Semitism together. So the hope is that the Jewish people, come together with our non-Jewish neighbors and friends like yourself, for example, and realize we're in this together. We're in this solidarity with loving God with all our heart, mind, and soul, and we need each other. So just last night, for example, you may have heard, uh, politically it has nothing to do with whether he's a Democrat or Republican, but the governor of Pennsylvania had a firebombing in his home, a significant damage in the middle of the night because it was Passover. He had a family seder, and his house got his mansion got the governor's mansion got broken into and burned. So it's terrible. But America always comes through when it comes to its relationship to Israel and certainly with the Jewish people fighting anti-Semitism.
Um, there's an interesting part of all of this. We've watched the rise of anti-Semitism. We've watched the nation of Israel become front and center in news, global news around the world. The threat against Israel has never been greater than it is now. I think they're battling 7 fronts. It's an amazing time in history. But yet, and I don't say this, I know this isn't arrogance by any means, but there is also a sense of confidence in Judaism that God is with you.
You know, I tell you something, and I'm not bragging about this, but one thing about the Jewish people is we have enormous resilience. Perry, we've been through this before. This is not new. It's surprising to us the way it occurred with the terrible tragedy of the attack on, murder, slaughter of innocent civilians in Israel last year from Gaza. It was surprising, of course, but not shocking. We were through this not just World War II, but even before that, in the 20th century, 19th century, 18th century. Throughout the centuries, the Jews have always been under this attack, hated out of jealousy, because we have this resilience wherever we live, wherever we are, we bounce back strong. And we have a lot of solidarity amongst us, even where we disagree. Theologically, there's a lot of disagreements in Judaism. Politically, there's a lot of disagreements. But somehow we all feel we're in this together, and we are.
Do you think Israel has reached a breaking point? They've had enough?
I can't really answer that to say they've had enough. I think they've always had enough. From the very beginning of Israel, when the United Nations voted for a 2-state solution, and Israel said yes, and the Arab world said no, the war started, and there's been wars since then, right up to 1967, and now this current Gazan war. So I don't think Israel, I think they're more thoughtful, the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, just to emotionally react and say, we've had enough, we're going to win this. We realize we can't win until the Arab nations recognize that Israel can actually be their best friend and be a member of the community of the Middle East. We have to reach out to those nations and make peace, just like what was done with Israel and Egypt. It's been a cool peace, but it's been peace, and Israel did with Jordan, as well with a few other Arab nations before the attack from Gaza.
The Abrahamic Accord is kind of an indicator of that, right?
I think so. I mean, the Abrahamic Accords were an extraordinary outreach. I mean, before the Gaza attack, Saudi Arabia was so close to recognizing Israel and making a treaty. In fact, that's probably one of the reasons why Hamas attacked Israel, is because they were so close to making a peace treaty with Saudi Arabia.
All right, so back to the Passover. This is a whole week celebration, right?
It is. It's an 8-day celebration. In Jewish homes, we don't eat bread products, wheat products, rye, barley products. In fact, it's in the Christian scriptures as well. The idea of yeast being representative of pride. So for 8 days, I'll have matzah, flatbread, and I'll put some eggs on it and some lox and cream cheese or whatever I want for breakfast. But by skipping bread, it's a spiritual practice saying, God, we hear you. We have to be humble. We have to just put our pride aside.
What's going on at the synagogue? Do you have special services every night or what?
It's not so much every night. We have special teachings going on. Last night we had our big community seder. It was just extraordinary. Just to share a meal with people, to take grape juice or wine, to make blessings over the bread, not the bread, the matzah and the food. So it's extraordinary because, eating brings families together. And when families come together and eat and talk, we have a famous thing in our seders called the 4 questions. And the youngest child asks the 4 questions. Manish tanana, halayla hazeh mikol halalot. Why is this night different from all other nights? And the evening is aimed at answering the children, why this night is so special. That God brought us out of Egypt, God brought us into the wilderness to get to Mount Sinai and eventually to the promised land.
Is there an awakening within the Jewish community to consider their roots more seriously these days?
I don't know, Perry. I just don't know the statistics on that objectively. But I know that the Jewish world has always been in this turmoil of some of us wanting to assimilate. I just don't want part of this religion anymore. It's given me trouble. And the other part saying, no, religion is what's held us together. So there's always been this tension, we might say, between religious Jews and secular Jews. We feel that solidarity when it comes to Israel. I will tell you that. Israel has religious Jews and secular Jews, and, we're a very diverse population. But certainly there is this, Gaza has brought an awakening within the Jewish world that this threat, from Hamas, from these Islamic extremists is very real, and we have to come together and fight that and eradicate that. And that doesn't mean hurt or eradicate the Arab peoples. Again, Israel can be their best friend if they would open their hearts and realize what Israel has brought into the Middle East already. Great technology, a great society.
No question about it. The way Israel fights war is to be respected. I mean, who else goes in and tells the innocent to get out? Who else goes in after a bombing and brings in, human aid? Like in Lebanon, it was rejected, but nonetheless, the offering was there.
Listen, we're not out to hurt people. We're out to destroy theologies, ideologies, the ideology of hatred. There's no hatred aimed at the people whatsoever. 20% of the Israeli population, Perry, I'm sure you know this, 20% of the Israeli population is not Jewish. It's either they're Arabs, they're either Arab Christians or Arab Muslims or Druze, right, or Bedouin. So we have, if you go to Israel, you see a diverse population there. You see dark-skinned people, lighter-skinned people, people of all different faiths. It's an extraordinary country, and people feel safe there, even in the midst of the wars.
In your synagogue, David, are you sensing a stronger commitment among your parishioners?
Okay, that's a great question. I think this commitment amongst the people in our community and most of the Jewish community always gets stronger when there is a tragedy, when there is an emergency. So I think the simple answer is yes. There's definitely a stronger connection to Israel, anti-Semitism. Many Jewish people have been not in denial of it, but saying, well, it's not really significant. America is a great country. They're never going to permit anti-Semitism to flourish, but it is flourishing. It's flourishing from the attacks on the Pittsburgh synagogue, the anti-Semitic attacks in the cities. A small Jewish population is the object, according to the Anti-Defamation League, of not just proportionally, but numerically more acts of graffiti and acts of violence against Jewish institutions than any of the minority group. And I'll give you an example. Perry, when you and I go back decades in Ashland, and our synagogue has never had to have what it has now. We received a grant this year from FEMA to strengthen the security around our building. We now have bulletproof windows. We have to get new doors. We have to get new security cameras and lights, buzzers to let people in. This is a tragedy that we had to spend $100,000 for security in the United States, but the threat of the hatred of the Jews, the threat of anti-Semitism is so real that all three synagogues in Ashland all had to do this.
I was just about ready to ask you an update on that. You answered it. I guess, David, I have a hard time. My brain goes on tilt to think in America, where we have freedoms, that you cannot worship freely.
It's unbelievable. A number of years ago, 2008, I was in Italy, and I went into the great synagogue in Florence, and you had to go through a metal detector. And I was saying to my wife, Deborah, I said, isn't this tragic? This will never happen in the United States. Well, we don't have a metal detector yet, but possibly we're getting close to that. Thank God we have the other security of the cameras and the buzzers and the lights, and the police department in Ashland is just fantastic in helping us with our security needs. But nevertheless, it boggles my mind that the extremists on the far, far right, the far, far left, both share this jealousy and hatred of the Jewish people.
Wow. Thank you for your time. So when does Passover end for you?
Well, I haven't looked at, but it started on Saturday evening, and you count 8 days. So it was a full moon festival. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So probably the end of Saturday will be the end of Passover.
Wow. Could I ask you to pray for Israel before we leave?
Yes, please. Thank you. God, please, Rabbona Shalom, hold Israel in your heart, in your mind, and even more importantly, inspire those all around the world to realize the gifts, not just of the Jewish people, but the gifts of all of Israel has brought to the world in terms of technology, in terms of industry, in terms of being a model, of being living in the world and loving you, God. Please protect us. Protect all our friends. Protect all our Christian friends in this Holy Week to be strong as they go through the process of their connection to you. Bless Israel and bless all of our friends. Amen.
Thank you, David. Love you. Good to see you, friend. I want you to know it's against the law for you to retire, but I understand it.
I'm rewiring, not retiring.
All right. Thank you, friend. Blessings on you. Shalom.